This episode of Vibrant Living is brought to you by Link Transit. Take that first step. Learn how to ride. And AARP Washington, working with local and statewide organizations to protect Wenatchee area consumers from scams and fraud.
Today I am with Marjorie McIntosh. While we were open up until COVID, we were having yoga classes conducted by Marjorie several days a week. And that had been ongoing here for about 8 years. And I've been here 8 years, so that's why I know that. But Marjorie's got an extensive background in exercise, well over 30 years of experience in various types of exercise. And so today we want to talk a little bit about what we were doing with yoga when we were open before we closed, and then maybe get into some other subject matter that Marjorie would like to talk about with regard to some of her recent personal experiences. So Marjorie, just tell us a little bit about how the yoga was going, how many people were involved, and give us a little more information about that.
Well, it started very slowly 8 years ago with about 5 people, and it grew, it grew way too big, and I was constantly after Dave to get me a bigger room or knock some walls down. Well, before that happened, we experienced COVID, and of course nothing has been happening since then, but soon we hope. And I would like to just say that I am an avid person when it comes to exercise. I think it is so important, and the older we get, the more we should do, not less. So a few words about how I feel about exercise. I know for a fact it does improve your strength, balance, overall good health, and above all, that mental well-being. As we age, we can get a little down, depressed, life seems hopeless. But with an hour of exercise, hey, we're different people. So I encourage anybody that happens to be watching, just give that some of your consideration.
So, I just wanted to add one little item to the room or the space that we provided you. At least we have replaced the flooring since we've been closed, but knocking walls down hasn't happened yet. But with many of our activities here, we have had a lot of space constraints. We got a lot of activities going on here, and we're always looking for additional space to fit everybody in. But it's really good that we've had really nice participation in our yoga program, like many of the other exercise programs. And so if you're interested, once we do get back open again, hopefully we're going to have the yoga going again and maybe some other variations off of that. Let's see. So I know that after we closed, you had some interesting developments occur. Did you want to just talk a little bit about what happened and why you think it happened and what you're able to do now?
Well, this was about a year ago. It was soon after we closed down for COVID, and I was doing my routine in my home, and something strange happened. I fell. I don't know exactly why my knee tore, but it did, and I went down and broke my wrist. And then after getting some emergency care and sent home, I fell again because the knee was unstable, and I broke my ankle to a point where I blacked out. I think prior to that I was screaming, but it was a very a nasty accident. I was taken to the hospital, and I don't remember too much. 3 or 4 months, I think I was in a black hole. And I think had I not been fairly strong and fit, I probably would have stayed there. And I'm worse than that. I think the worst could have happened. But the fact that I pulled myself up on a pole, I swung myself around as much as I possibly could, and was fairly strong that I am on 2 feet. It's not perfect, but it's good. The wrist, same thing. It isn't perfect, but I'm doing good. I'm so grateful, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all those ladies again. I get phone calls, when are we going to go back to yoga? Well, no answers yet, but I'm looking forward to it and to putting this last year completely behind me. So I would encourage you, what I found, I have osteoporosis, and the key to that really is some of us have it genetic-wise, others, we have had a poor diet, we haven't exercised, and we will end up in a wheelchair. So right now I'm on a lot of strengthening programs. I am at the gym daily, and I haven't really addressed this with Dave, but I would like at some point to introduce some kind of a weight program. We could even do fusion yoga where we combine weights with stretching. So that's something to think about, but really it's so important. Osteoporosis is invasive. We don't know we have it. And see if you can get a scan from your doctor. That's very important. I had not had one, and it was a terrible year, quite honestly.
So pretty much what you had been doing is focusing on stretch and yoga, those kinds of
Right.
activities, but you never really did much in terms of weight bearing, and you think exercise, and you think that really was the cause of your situation, that you were not doing, let's say, more different types of exercise.
Well, yes and no, Dave. I mean, we get older and things happen, and a lot of it is genes, but it is also about inactivity, and I was never inactive. So, but for a lot of people, yes, it really is, it's very, very helpful. I am wishing I had done more weights than I was doing. So partly that, and partly my genetic makeup, I think, has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Marjorie, for spending a few moments and with us, and then we'll look forward to seeing you out here hopefully pretty soon.
Dear customer, this call is from Amazon customer support. This is to notify you regarding your today's purchase on Amazon.com. You have been charged $379.99 on your Visa card. If you have made this purchase on Amazon and recognize it, then simply hang up and your order will be delivered to you. However, if you have not made any such transaction, you can call Amazon support right away on 970-427-6905 or press 1 to connect to our agent.
Hello, Detective Kirk Drolet with the Wenatchee Police Department here. Have you gotten a call like this from Amazon supposedly? If you did and you gave them information, you could be the victim of a scam. Hopefully you didn't. I'd like to thank AARP Washington for making this spot possible, and tune in for more information.
Today I am with Mick Tyrell. The reason I have Mick with me today is because when I first arrived here 8 years ago, Mick was one of the first people that I met, sat down and chatted with. And that was because Mick comes to lunch every single day, except for special occasions, maybe a birthday party or some celebration or a gathering. Otherwise, Mick is with us at lunchtime, and I really wanted to get Mick on one of these videos just to chat about lunch, because what I've also found out about Mick, he doesn't do anything. Well, no, wait a minute. You do. You participate in one of the games. Tell us about what game you participate in.
Oh, I played dominoes here.
That's right.
Yeah, heavens, yes.
Yeah.
That, of course, is really Mexican train.
Right.
But we have a lot of fun, or did have, up until a year and a half ago.
Right. During COVID, we're still suffering through.
Yes.
Mick can't come out for lunch right now, and he can't participate in the Mexican train. Is there anything else that you did activity-wise here through the years?
Not particularly. I really miss lunch, but I miss fellowship more.
Yeah.
And really, I managed to get along without, but it would sure be a lot more fun with.
Back with your friends, yeah.
Yeah.
And me too, actually. I miss that a lot. I didn't come here to sit in my office and do paperwork and read emails and clean up the place and paint and all the stuff that we've been doing. So
Yeah.
we'll get back to it here one of these days. So Mick, you're a native of the Valley. You graduated Wenatchee High School, I think, in 1949. You have a lot of relatives in the Valley. I guess anybody that's a native would probably have that. I also know that you were involved with Save Mart, I think when it first got started. Is that right?
No, I was probably about 4 or 5 years after, but I had been in the music business at Belmont Radio and Music Shop for 16 years, and I asked Beanie for a raise, and he said, "No, I can't give you a raise because we just can't afford it." And I told him I really wanted to make $10,000 a year, and he said, "There's no way in Wenatchee can you make $10,000 a year in sales." So I told him, "Well, then I'm going to go find a job that I can." And he said, "Yeah, good luck. Have you got one?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, you might want to continue working here until you find one." And I said, "That's a good idea." This was in January. And in August, I finally found a job at Save Mart as a commission salesperson. My wife said, "What happens if you don't sell something?" I said, "Simple, no paycheck." and they wanted me to start the 1st of September, but I didn't feel as though I could, because September is the busiest business time for the music industry.
School's
And so
opening
I
up
told them the
yeah.
1st of October I would start, and I did, and I never made less than $1,000 a month. So I was a success as a commission salesperson, and then after about a year or so of that, the opening for credit manager came up, and I applied with Lonnie. And he said, "Well, gee, Mick, you don't want that. You won't make as much money as you're making now." And I said, "Yeah, but sometimes money isn't everything." So I was 25 years as office manager.
Well, the one thing I can remember about Save Mart was my dad, who had a service station in Kashmir, was really upset when he found out that Save Mart was selling a quart of oil, motor oil, for less than what he could buy it for. And I think back in those days, I think he was paying 80 or 90 cents a quart, and he'd go to Save Mart and buy it for 50 or 60 cents.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And of course, that's how Save Mart became successful, was through buying right, making it possible for them to sell right.
And buying in large quantities, probably,
Yeah.
in certain cases, yeah. And I think that was one of the first discount stores that I can remember, and that was what, in the mid-'60s, I think, when Save Mart got going?
Yeah, I think so. I went to work for them in '68.
Yeah.
So I think they started in '64 or '63 maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
But they had a lot of different things. Now it's, I guess, appliances and furniture primarily, but there used to be quite a variety of items in their inventory back in the day.
Oh, they had almost everything.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
yeah.
But things change, things evolve, and I know that we've had some really good conversation over the 8 years I've been here. I'll never forget the day you walked in with the old newspaper that looked like it'd been
kept in storage really well. But you told me that you found it in a wall in one of the homes that you were renting when you were remodeling. You remember what that newspaper was?
Yes, actually, it was 1939, and the headline had to do with the fact that the Nazis were blitzkrieging in Europe.
Yeah.
And this was a newspaper that had been folded exactly the same way as a square, and that's the way that the delivery boys used to fold them, so they could sail them onto the porch. Yeah. And this particular one I found in the wall where my father was converting the dirt basement in his apartment house to another apartment, and he was doing that just prior to, in fact, in the year of 1939. And for some reason, this newspaper got in the wall, and then after I sold the apartment house a couple of years ago, the guy tore away the plaster, and here was this newspaper. I took it to the library, to the museum.
Yeah.
They've got it.
Yeah. Well, Mick, I want to thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us today. And, you know, I always enjoy our conversation, and we will get back to that one of these days soon, I'm sure.
Well, I'm sure hoping that things get back to normal pretty soon, so that we can continue having our fellowship that we really miss so much.
Dave Tosch, Executive Director, Wenatchee Valley Senior Activity Center, and today I have with me Jana Fishback, and she is the Executive Director of an organization that's fairly new to our area, Sustainable Wenatchee. And she's going to tell us a little more about the organization and what they're doing right now, but how did this come about? How did your organization get organized?
So we kind of started from the Our Valley, Our Future action plan, and it was my co-founder, Tandy Rowland. She was our first board president. She worked with Steve Maher at Our Valley, Our Future to kind of create a side project. At the time, she owned, it's called Hunter's Wife Health Bar downtown. I don't know if you remember that little restaurant downtown. It's not there anymore, but she started it as kind of a side project. She's just really passionate about environmental sustainability, so she started something called Tread Lightly Fridays, and that was going pretty well. It was a program where different businesses could offer discounts to their customers if they did something eco-friendly. So you could ride your bike to the business or bring your own bag, and they'd offer a small discount just to kind of encourage that behavior. So she wanted to grow it into something more, and she actually posted on their social media for Tread Lightly Fridays saying that they were looking for somebody else to get involved. And I had just moved back to the Wenatchee Valley. I grew up here, but had recently moved back and was looking to get involved in this kind of area. And so she and I got together and decided, we kind of took a survey of the different nonprofits, and there wasn't one to really encourage people to do these more eco-friendly behaviors. And so we decided to start Sustainable Wenatchee to do that.
So what do you provide? How do you serve the community?
So we're education and outreach. So our mission is to promote a culture of environmental stewardship and social sustainability. And so we're not political. We just encourage voluntary behavior change. And we do different events. Our big event is the Earth Day Fair each year. So that's down at Pybus each April. And that's grown a lot. We started in 2018 and we did it. We were one of the first kind of since COVID kind of opened up things this last April, which was really fun and a little scary to plan that. But we had it this year and we had over 1,000 people come down to Pybus for Earth Day Fair. So that's our big event that we have each year. But then we do a lot of just educational presentations and classes and things. We often partner with like the museum or the library or Pybus University to offer education on all sorts of sustainability related topics. And then we write articles for the Wenatchee World or for our blog. We try to keep our website as a really good resource. So we don't offer real tangible services such as recycling, but we try to educate people about what's available. So our website has all of that information if you're curious of how to recycle one specific thing or something like that.
So if you're going to see you, the public is going to see you out in the community, they might see you down at Pybus frequently, or?
Yeah,
what?
so we try to have a booth at a lot of different festivals or fairs. We're often at the farmers market a couple times a year. We're going to be at the both the Cashmere and the Leavenworth farmers markets this fall, and a couple different festivals and things like that. So sometimes we're out and about. We were at the nonprofit day at Pybus last spring too. Yeah.
So were we, and I don't recall all the nonprofits.
Yeah,
that
there's
were
a
there,
lot
but
there.
There were a lot of them
Yes,
there.
yeah.
So there's got to be some opportunities here in our local area. What are some of the exciting things? Some of the things you can get excited about in trying to implement some of your thoughts and ideas?
Yeah, we have some unique things living in Wenatchee that I think are really exciting, where we can kind of be on the forefront of sustainability. So of course our clean hydropower is one that we can really take advantage of. I think electrifying our transportation, which Link Transit has done an amazing job, really been in the forefront of having electric buses and things like that, and individuals, purchasing electric cars. So we have that unique advantage, I think, where we can be kind of a leader. And then of course, in the resiliency and the way we kind of can face some of these hardships that the climate crisis brings with wildfire and extreme heat and drought. I think we can be a leader in showing how we can be resilient as a community and kind of adapt to that as well. So those are some things that kind of, I think of.
So I would imagine that some of what you do is trying to educate the public on things relating to sustainability. Are you in the schools? How are you reaching out?
Yeah, so we so far have been mostly focused on adult education, but we're really trying to reach out to the younger audience as well. It's a little bit more tough just logistically to get into the schools, and teachers are really busy and things like that. So that's something that is definitely something that we want to do more of. In the past, it's been mostly focusing on adults. One thing that we are going to do that's coming up that will focus a little bit more on children is our Idle-Free Zones campaign. And this is going to be kind of our first big community-wide awareness campaign that we've done that focuses just on one topic, getting people essentially to just turn off their vehicles and not idle when it's nice, mild weather out. So not telling people when it's 100 degrees or when it's 20 degrees to turn off their cars. But we have, really nice spring and fall weather where that's definitely doable. So we're going to try to kind of get into the schools a little bit there, hopefully, and put up some signage, because that toxic exhaust fumes, really can affect young lungs as kids are developing and growing. So that's something that we're going to hopefully do a little bit more education for elementary school level and maybe even like preschool, daycare, younger kids too.
So, and I understand that you are a local independent organization. You're not part of a bigger association or state or regional or any of that. You're pretty much here in Wenatchee with the board of directors.
We kind of framed it off of, I had worked before when I was in grad school over on the west side. I worked for the city of Tacoma. They have an Office of Environmental Policy and Sustainability. And so I got a lot of great experience there. And I knew a town the size of Wenatchee probably wasn't going to have an Office of Sustainability anytime soon. So we thought we could create a nonprofit that would kind of maybe fill a little bit of the void and provide some of that education that something, an office like that might do.
I just want to thank you for your time today, and appreciate giving the community an update on what's going on with recycling, and hopefully this is something you're going to be able to really impact in the future.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of opportunities here, so it'll be exciting to see what happens. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.